Welcome to your deep dive into the Florida Fastpitch FHSAA 5A Softball State Tournament preview. We've got a ton of great info you sent over, and our mission today is really to slice through it all.
Yeah, get to the core of what you need to know as these playoffs kick off.
Exactly. We want to give you an understanding that, goes a bit beyond just the bracket.
That's the plan. We're diving into each of the four regions, looking at those quarterfinal games, making some projections for semis, the regional finals, all based on that data you shared.
And yeah, for these games, we're really zeroing in on the players who could be like the difference makers, right? We'll hit their stats, batting averages, ERAs, that kind of thing.
But maybe more importantly, the factors that could swing a game one way or the other. Team strengths, sure, but also weaknesses. Any potential upsets brewing, we'll look at that too.
Right. This should give you a really solid picture of the whole landscape, not just scores, but the dynamics.
Couldn't have said it better. We want to explore those maybe less obvious advantages or disadvantages you don't just see from the win-loss column.
Okay, let's jump in. Region 1. First up, the quarterfinal. Number 1, Niceville taking on number 8, Gulf Breeze, and right off the bat, Niceville just looks, well, dominant on paper.
What really stands out with Niceville is just how consistent they are top to bottom. You've got Brianna Knowles, a sophomore, hitting .453, got 7 extra base hits, 21 RBIs. But it's not just her.
Right.
They have 5 players hitting over .330. That kind of balance, it makes it really tough for opposing pitchers. There's just no easy out there.
And then you pair that offense with Chloe Bailey in the circle. An ERA of .79, over 123 innings, and 210 strikeouts. That's not luck.
No, absolutely not. That's consistent domination. It really feels like she dictates the game from the circle.
Yeah. Now, Gulf Breeze, they do have some pop. GC Reed's got 8 homers. Kylie Reed has 30 hits. So they can hit.
They can, but the other side of the coin, the data points to some pitching struggles, doesn't it? Allowing over 130 runs, that's significant.
It is. And facing a lineup like Niceville's, one that's both potent and disciplined, that feels like a really tall order for the Gulf Breeze pitching staff.
So how could Gulf Breeze pull off a shocker? It feels like they absolutely have to score early. Get to Bailey before she settles in, maybe create some chaos.
The pressure on.
Exactly. But stringing together hits against a pitcher throwing like she is, that's the million-dollar question. It's tough.
Yeah, I think our projection reflects that. We've got Niceville by 5+ runs here. Bailey's pitching plus that balanced offense seems like too much.
Agreed. Okay, next, Region 1 quarterfinal. Number 4, Childs versus number 5, Fleming Island. Now, this one looks like a really interesting clash of styles.
It does. Childs, wow. Their offense looks potentially explosive. 3 hitters over .425. Adeline Matthews hitting .613 with 7 bombs and 48 runs.
And don't forget Mia Hemingway batting .597 with 15 home runs. I mean, they can put up crooked numbers fast.
But it might come down to their freshman pitcher, Anna Barber. Her ERA is solid, 1.91, but, playoffs are a different beast, especially for a freshman.
That's the key variable, isn't it? On the other side, Fleming Island seems more measured. Maybe less raw power, but more consistent.
Seems like it. Senior Olivia Sykes hitting .558 with 17 doubles. That's impressive. They look like a team that focuses on getting on base, playing smart softball.
Right. And they've got Mallory Blackwell in the circle, a 2.31 ERA, and she's got experience. That counts for a lot in these tight games. They seem like they'll capitalize if you make mistakes.
So what are we watching for here? Barber's command seems huge. If she starts walking batters, Fleming Island looks like the kind of team to make her pay.
Definitely. But if Barber's dealing, keeping them off the bases, Childs' bats could just overwhelm Fleming Island. Defense for both teams could be critical too. Might be a few runs scored.
Okay, projection time. We're leaning towards Childs, maybe 7-5.
Yeah.
The sheer firepower just feels like it might be too much over 7 innings.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, let's move to the 3-6 matchup in Region 1, Middleburg against Milton. Middleburg, maybe flying under the radar a bit.
Could be. They look pretty solid all around. Kara Claret is hitting .446 with 6 homers.
Oh.
But again, it's the depth, 6 players hitting over 300. That's a tough lineup to navigate.
And they're aggressive on the bases, too, adds another layer of pressure. Lily Bennett in the circle, 1.99 ERA, almost 100 strikeouts. Seems pretty dependable.
Milton, on the other hand?
Yeah.
The offense looks like it might be a struggle. Alexis Hawthorne is hitting .386, which is good. But overall power seems down compared to Middleburg.
And their pitcher, Chloe Norman, a 2.41 ERA, she's thrown a lot of innings. The notes suggest maybe she's vulnerable to teams that make consistent contact. Pitching depth could be an issue, too.
So the key here feels like Middleburg getting out front early. If they jump ahead, Can Milton's offense realistically mount a comeback?
That seems unlikely based on the data. Middleburg's speed could force some mistakes, too.
Yeah, so we're projecting Middleburg here, maybe 6-2. Clarida leads the offense. Bennett holds them down. Seems logical.
Agreed. Okay, last Region 1 quarterfinal. Number 2, Matanzas versus number 7, Pontevedra. And Matanzas.
Well, it starts with that pitcher, doesn't it? It absolutely does. Leah Stevens. Senior ace. An ERA of, what, .34 and 193 strikeouts. I mean, that's just unreal numbers. She makes them incredibly tough to beat.
For sure. But they're not just pitching. Juliet Fogel hitting .456, Mackenzie Manhart hitting .448. They've got a consistent offense that gets on base and manufactures runs.
Pontevedra, meanwhile, is described as scrappy, but there looks like a pretty big talent gap here. Aof Weaver leads their offense, batting .390, 21 RBIs. She also pitches a lot.
Yeah, but her pitching numbers, 145 hits, 49 earned runs allowed, suggest she might struggle against a lineup like Matanzas. They don't seem to have that shutdown arm to counter Stevens.
So for Pontevedra, it feels like Weaver has to be Houdini on the mound, right?
Yeah.
Limit base runners, somehow keep Matanzas off the scoreboard.
That's their path, yeah. Keep it close, hope for a break. Matanzas, meanwhile, will likely try to work counts, grind out at bats, wait for their chance.
Makes sense. Our projection is Matanzas, 4-1. Stevens is likely just too dominant.
Yeah, seems like the most probable outcome. Okay, so that sets up our projected Region 1 semifinals. First, number 1 Niceville against potentially number 4 Childs. Power versus pitching.
The classic matchup. Childs with Matthews and Hemingway, who can hit it out of any park, but they're up against Chloe Bailey, who's just been lights out. She doesn't give up many big hits, apparently.
Right, that's key against Childs' power. And for Childs, their freshman, Anna Barber, she has to be brilliant. She can't let Niceville get comfortable.
No, they need runs to support her, and getting runs off Bailey is tough. Can Barber keep them in it long enough for the offense to maybe break through? Big ask for a freshman.
Huge ask. So the projection here favors Niceville, maybe 5-2. Bailey's consistency and Niceville's overall experience feel like the edge.
Agreed. Okay, the other projected semi. Number 2, Matanzas versus number 3, Middleburg. This feels really close. A coin flip almost.
It does. Matanzas obviously leans on Leah Stevens. When she's on, she can absolutely dominate. Middleburg hasn't seen pitching quite like that.
But Middleburg is gritty. They put the ball in play, they make you field it, they don't strike out a ton. Can they frustrate Stevens?
That's their best bet. Clarida, Hagen, those hitters need to find a way on base early. Make Stevens work, extend that pitch count, put some pressure on the Matanzas defense.
And Middleburg's pitching needs to be sharp. Avoid walks against Matanzas, they'll capitalize.
It feels like a 2-1 kind of game, doesn't it? Low scoring, tense. We're narrowly projecting Matanzas mostly because of Stevens.
Yeah, that ace factor is hard to bet against.
Yeah. Okay, so that leads us to a potential Region 1 final. Number 1, Niceville versus number 2, Matanzas. Wow.
This is the matchup, right? Two ace-led teams. Stevens has been maybe untouchable this year.
But Niceville feels more complete, maybe. Bailey is dominant and durable. And their offense seems deeper. Knowles, Shackelford, Bailey herself, Cook. They have multiple hitters who can produce.
That's the key difference, I think. Matanzas needs offensive efficiency against Bailey. Can they string together enough hits, enough quality at-bats to score maybe 2 or 3 runs? Because that might be all it takes. It might. But getting those runs off Bailey against that Niceville defense, tough. And Niceville seems comfortable winning tight, low-scoring games.
So the projection for the Region 1 championship, we're landing on Niceville. Maybe 3-1.
Yeah, I think so. In a great pitching duel, Niceville's slight edge in offense and overall consistency might just be the difference. They take Region 1.
Okay, let's move to Region 2, first quarterfinal. Number 1, Winter Springs versus number 8, River Ridge. Winter Springs looks like a methodical, deep team.
Yeah, Kennedy Jackson hitting .455, Alondra Maldonado hitting .417 with 5 homers. They've got hitters. They're pitching, maybe not quite as dominant. Tiffany Seaman at 2.48 ERA. Madison Barahona at 2.89. Good, but not unhittable.
Right. River Ridge, meanwhile, is described as scrappy. Lily Jackson pitches for them, 2.45 ERA, but allows quite a few hits and walks. Offense seems limited. Peyton Van Fossen leads them, batting .348.
So for River Ridge, like Gulf Breeze, feels like they need early chaos, right? Rattle Winter Springs, maybe force some errors.
That's their shot. But Winter Springs looks pretty steady. Projection here is Winter Springs 7-2. Their offense should be too consistent.
Makes sense. Next up, number 4 East River versus number 5 Sebring. This one seems to revolve around pitching.
It does. East River has Catherine Sanchez. She does all, hits .479 with 12 doubles, and pitches to a 1.38 ERA with 137 strikeouts. She's a huge factor.
Sebring counters with a veteran group. Tara Lynn Price hits .419 with 3 homers. And she also pitches, though her ERA is higher at 2.93. Experience versus maybe higher-end talent with Sanchez.
Yeah. The key feels like Sanchez's start. If she comes out dealing, can Sebring's offense keep up? This feels like a close one.
It does. We're projecting East River, but tightly, maybe 5-4, banking on Sanchez being the difference maker early.
Sounds about right. Okay, third quarterfinal, number 3, Gainesville versus number 6, Bellevue. Gainesville has some dangerous bats.
Oh, yeah. Madison Gillen's hitting .475, McKenna O'Sullivan hitting .463 with 11 doubles and 4 homers. They can swing it. Pitching is maybe the question mark. O'Sullivan also pitches, 2.60 ERA.
Bellevue's strength seems to be their pitcher, Yamari Reynolds. A 2.15 ERA, 180 strikeouts. That's legit. Can Gainesville handle her?
That's the matchup. Can Gainesville's Coton lineup solve Reynolds? If they can put up a few runs, they should be okay.
We think they can, just barely. Projecting Gainesville, 4-2. Their offense finds a way against Reynolds.
Okay, last Region 2 quarterfinal. Number 2 Deltona versus number 7 Springstead. And this one smells like upset potential.
It really does. Springstead has a strong pitching tandem. Ava Miller with a tiny .85 ERA. Olivia Miller at 1.76. That's a formidable duo.
And they can hit too. Rachel Rivera batting .429. Ava Miller herself hitting .426. They look dangerous.
Deltona's no slouch, mind you. Amaya Jones hits .564 with 4 homers. Tessa Gwinnett has a 1.15 ERA. They're balanced.
But what happens if teams pitch around Jones? Can the rest of the Deltona lineup pick up the slack against those Miller sisters?
That's the critical question. We're actually projecting the upset here. Springstead, 2-1. Those two pitchers might just shut Deltona down.
Wow, okay. So projected Region 2 semifinals. Number 1 Winter Springs versus number 4 East River.
Yeah, Winter Springs depth versus the Catherine Sanchez factor for East River. Can Sanchez carry them again?
It's a tough ask against that Winter Springs lineup. Yeah. We're projecting Winter Springs 4-1. Their depth likely wins out.
Makes sense. And the other semi, number 3, Gainesville versus our upset pick, number 7, Springstead.
So Gainesville's bats against the Miller sisters pitching. Can Gainesville score enough this time?
We think Springstead's pitching might be the difference again. Projecting Springstead in another tie one, maybe 3-2.
Okay, so that sets up a potential Region 2 final. Number 1 Winter Springs versus number 7 Springstead. The consistent offense versus the disruptive pitching duo.
Exactly. How do Winter Springs' top hitters like Jackson and Maldonado handle Ava and Olivia Miller? That's the key matchup.
Winter Springs has been solid all year. We think they find a way. Projecting Winter Springs to win Region 2, but it'll be close, maybe 3-2.
All right, Region 3. Quarterfinals start with number 1 North Fort Myers versus number 8 Gaither. North Fort Myers' offense looks just insane.
Abigail Hines batting .622 with 11 homers. Audrey Florenzano hitting .512. Mia Lane, .429. Kalia Williams, .451. I mean, good grief.
Yeah, that's video game numbers. Gazer relies heavily on Casey Wilkes, who hits .474 but also pitches. Her ERA is 3.61, and she gives up a lot of hits.
This feels like a mismatch, and North Fort Myers just needs to swing the bats early and often.
Pretty much. Projection is North Fort Myers big.
Yeah.
Maybe 9-2.
Next, number 4 Mariners versus number 5 Charlotte. Experience versus youth here.
Seems like it. Charlotte leans on Davahofer, 3.07 ERA, but she throws a ton of innings. Haven Hickox hitting .390. Hofer herself hits .354 with some pop. Experienced group.
Mariner counters with youth, especially pitchers Gaby Winters. Yeah. But wow, 1.60 ERA and 276 strikeouts as a freshman. That's impressive.
Very. The key might be Hofer's ability to pitch to contact effectively against Mariners' younger lineup. Can Charlotte's experience win out?
We think it might, surprisingly. Projecting Charlotte in a close one, 3-2. Experience navigating a tight playoff game.
Interesting pick. Okay, number 3, Gulf Coast versus number 6, Northeast. Gulf Coast looks very complete offensively.
Yeah, 5 starters over 340. Hannah Reardon hitting .435 with 14 doubles and 6 homers stands out. Taylor Stalling pitches to a 3.01 ERA. Solid team.
Northeast is more top-heavy. Lashelle Roberts hitting an incredible .604. Ava Twinham at .472. Danielle Brunner is a strong pitcher, 1.35 ERA.
But can Brunner do it alone? Feels like Gulf Coast's deeper lineup might wear her down. What's her margin for error?
Very small. We're projecting Gulf Coast 5-3. Their lineup depth should be the difference.
Okay, last Region 3 quarter. Number 2 Fort Myers versus number 7 Riverdale. Fort Myers can really mash.
Oh, yeah. 5 players hitting over .430. Fazone batting .519. Torres .500. Rodmeyer .474 with 6 homers. potent. Pitching looks like maybe a concern, though. Apton Jasone, 2.86 ERA. Lolly Lane, 5.62.
That's the opening for Riverdale. They have some strong bats, too. Jamie Pashirnia hitting .512 with 7 homers. Adriana Mineta pitches well, 2.07 ERA.
So, can Fort Myers' offense outslug Riverdale's, and can their defense hold up behind pitching that might give up some runs?
Feels like a slugfest waiting to happen. We're projecting Fort Myers survives, maybe 7-5. Just too much offense.
Okay, projected Region 3 semifinals. Number 1, North Fort Myers versus number 5, Charlotte.
North Fort Myers firepower just seems like too much for Charlotte's pitching here. Have to go with North Fort Myers, maybe 6-2.
Agreed. The other semi, number 2, Fort Myers versus number 3, Gulf Coast. Star power versus maybe smarter play.
Another potential high-scoring game. Fort Myers big bats against Gulf Coast's solid lineup and defense. We lean Fort Myers again, 6-4. That offense is hard to ignore.
Yeah. So that sets up a monster Region 3 final. Number 1, North Fort Myers versus number 2, Fort Myers. A rematch.
And North Fort Myers won both times during the season. Does that matter now? Maybe. They seem slightly more consistent, maybe deeper pitching.
It's going to be a battle. Both teams can score in bunches. Slight edge to North Fort Myers based on the regular season and maybe that overall consistency.
Yeah, let's project North Fort Myers wins Region 3, but it's going to be a shootout, maybe 8-6.
Ooh. Okay, Region 4, quarterfinals. Number 1, St. Thomas Aquinas versus number 8, Varela. Aquinas looks deep.
Very. Freshman pitcher Lavinia Miller, 1.54 ERA. Reese Rennell hitting .403. Melanie Sweet hitting .400. Solid roster. Varela seems to be struggling this year.
Yeah, this looks like a straightforward one. Miller controls the game. Projection, St. Thomas Aquinas 8-1.
Sounds about right. Next, number 4, Pembroke Pines Charter versus number 5, Bayside. This looks pretty even.
It does. Pines Charter relies heavily on Destiny Ortega. She hits .484 and pitches 2.93 ERA, 116 strikeouts. That's a huge workload.
Bayside counters with a really potent offense. Jordan Milo hitting .525, Ellie Curry .484, Zoe Parker .449. They can rake. Pitching looks like their weakness, though. Nicole Garcia, 4.54 ERA. Kaden Platt, 8.45.
Yikes. So can Ortega shut down that Bayside offense early? If she does, Pines Charter should win. If Bayside gets to her, it could be a long day.
We're leaning towards Ortega holding serve.
Yeah.
Projecting Pembroke Pines Charter, 6-4.
Okay, next. Number 3, Sebastian River versus number 6, Plantation. Sebastian River looks strong offensively.
Yeah, Layla McKinney hitting .526. Riley Biggers also .526. Kira Caro hitting .489 with 28 RBIs. And Kara pitches to 2.11 ERA. She's key.
Plantation, honestly, not much info here. 8-7 record. Seems like Sebastian River has a clear advantage.
Feels like it. Caro should dominate. Projection, Sebastian River 7-2.
Agreed. Last quarterfinal. Number 2, South Fork versus number 7, MacArthur. South Fork plays efficient softball.
Looks like it. Emma Ortiz hitting .464. Eliana Hernandez .455. Abby DeWaters .387 with 11 doubles. Mackenzie Brown pitches to a 2.69 ERA. Solid fundamentals.
MacArthur, another team with limited info. 7-6 record, incomplete stats. Hard to see them challenging South Fork's efficiency.
Yeah, South Fork likely jumps on them early. Projection, South Fork 9-3.
Okay, Region 4 semifinals projected.
Yeah.
Number 1, St. Thomas Aquinas versus number 4, Pembroke Pines Charter.
Aquinas' depth versus the Destiny Ortega show for Pines Charter. Can Ortega do enough, both hitting and pitching?
It's a massive ask against a team like Aquinas. We project St. Thomas Aquinas 5-3. Their depth wins out.
Makes sense. Other semis. Number 2, South Fork versus number 3, Sebastian River. Battle of strong top halves of the lineup.
It is. This feels really close. Maybe Kira Caro's pitching gives Sebastian River the slightest edge.
That feels right.
Yeah.
We're projecting Sebastian River in a tight one, 6-5. Caro makes the difference.
Okay. Projected Region 4 final. Number 1, St. Thomas Aquinas versus number 3, Sebastian River. This feels like a true toss-up.
It really does. Aquinas' overall depth and solid pitching versus Sebastian River's top-end hitting and Caro in the circle. Who blinks first?
Very tough call. We're narrowly projecting St. Thomas Aquinas wins Region 4, maybe 4-3, just based on that slightly deeper roster.
Okay, that brings us to the state semifinals, our projected winners. Niceville from Region 1 versus North Fort Myers from Region 3.
Wow, North Fort Myers' unbelievable offense against Niceville's dominant pitching ace, Chloe Bailey, and their really consistent lineup.
Can North Fort Myers score enough against Bailey? That's the question. Niceville seems built for these kinds of games.
We think Bailey holds them somewhat in check. Projecting Niceville takes this one 5-2.
Okay, the other state semifinal projection. Winter Springs from Region 2 versus St. Thomas Aquinas from Region 4.
Another great matchup. Winter Springs' balanced, clean play against Aquinas' strong freshman pitcher, Miller, and their solid offense.
This feels like it could go either way. Maybe Winter Springs' slightly more experienced lineup finds a way,
That's what we're thinking. Projecting Winter Springs wins a close one, 4-3.
which sets up our projected state championship game. Niceville versus Winter Springs.
Two teams with strong pitching, solid lineups. This looks like a fantastic final on paper.
Key matchup feels like Bailey's command against the patience of the Winter Springs hitters. Can they work counts, force her into mistakes?
And can Niceville find a way to manufacture runs against Winter Springs pitching? Niceville seems adept at winning ugly, grinding out wins.
In the end, we're leaning towards that Niceville ace again. Projecting Niceville wins the 2025 FHSAA 5A state championship, maybe 4-1. Bailey carries them one last time.
It feels like the most likely outcome based on everything we've seen. Niceville just seems incredibly tough to beat with Bailey in the circle and that lineup behind her.
So there you have it. That's our deep dive into the Florida 5A Fastpitch State Tournament. We've gone through every region, highlighted key players, and made our picks all the way to the title game.
Yeah, keep an eye on those matchups we talked about. The dominant pitchers, Bailey, Stevens, Sanchez, the Millers, Karras. See how they fare. And watch for those potential upsets, like Springstead, maybe.
Absolutely. It promises to be some fantastic softball. We hope this breakdown gives you a really comprehensive, engaging look at what's coming.
What are your thoughts? Do you agree with our projections? Which games are you most excited about? This is just kicking off the conversation, really.
Exactly. We definitely encourage you to dig deeper into these teams and players yourself as the tournament plays out. It's going to be fun to watch.